So we're live on Facebook and we are being recorded, guys.
Thank you.
Well, maybe what I can do, Shiv, is just open it up and then turn it over to yourself and Jivasu to handle. Okay.
Okay.
First of all, warm welcome back to everybody. And this afternoon session is a panel on human condition. Why do personal and common good elude us? Part in keeping with that, here are basically going to be our panelists, right? All qualified, and they're going to, and Shiv is going to introduce them or have these individuals introduced. And Doug, my apologies, I put down that you've got 3 minutes, you got 10 minutes, you got lots of time. It's just very good to have every one of you here. Kind of as a primer a little bit, this was what we were kind of kicking around prior to the, and this does not mean you got to answer these questions, but just as a lead in to you is, and I'll leave these up on the screen if you want, or I can take it off too, just so we got everybody. I'll take it off, but we can put this back on if you want. You know, why can't we do what we know is good for us? Why can't we truly love? Why can't we just let go? Why can't we be still? We know we should be doing this. How can we truly listen to the other? Breaking our habits. If we always do what we've always done, we'll always get what we always got. We've got lots of knowledge, but we're talking about action. Can we change? Can we ever truly have, sorry, not peace, P-I-E-C, peace, and a piece of the action too, why not? The ego, the good and the bad, the fear of change, the guilt that we carry, the love, the strategies to bring the subconscious to the unconscious and the conscious, and more importantly, what can we do it? So this, at the end of the day, those are the questions we were kind of kicking around initially when you start to look at this. I'll take this off at the time frame and just turn it over to Shiv and Jivasu just to talk and introduce the panelists, have the panelists introduce themselves. Shiv?
Thank you, Fred. I emailed to all panelists a presentation PDF that I'm going to make, and you can read it at your convenience. And I'll take a few minutes to look at the key points. What I'm saying is that our lack of knowledge about ourselves underlies the state of our human condition. We do not know about our body. We do not know about our mind. We do not know how our mind and body are related. The body and mind are the only two tools of life. We cannot make our human condition better because we lack knowledge of effectively using the tools to live. There are questions like, when did our body originate? At conception or at birth? Did we have a mind at the origin of the body? Our body originated at conception as a one cell. The mind is defined to be the processor of memory. Memory related with the past, we did not have at conception because we had no past. So where does that memory come from that is related with our mind? The answer lies in our biology. The cell is a building block of life. It has a body, it has a mind, it has a long past history, which is kind of experientially recorded in the mind. The atoms of matter comprising the cell started to exist some 14.5 billion years ago at the Big Bang. They have a history of 14.5 billion years. Cells comprising life have got a history of 3.5 billion years when life originated as a single cell form on Earth. Life is born and then it dies. To live, it needs energy. Energy comes from food and oxygen. Life can only eat life. That induces fear of death by predators. Fear of danger and death needs a sense of self and the other. Life has to sustain itself when it survives, it must also procreate asexually for life to continue existing. Single cell life can only procreate asexually. Nature somehow builds the tendency to survive, sustain, procreate, and a sense of identity in the first ever single-celled life forms. These four are called inbuilt mental instincts. All forms of life share them. In the single-celled life forms, they work in an automatic and unconscious manner. We can say that the mind of the single-cell life forms is unconscious. It does not mean they lack consciousness altogether. It only means that their consciousness operates fast like that of an automatic machine with a primitive sensory motor ability. So single-cell life lived in colonies of billions. When colonies got too big to sustain individual lives, genes mutated to evolve multicellular life forms. First vegetative, then animal. Mind was still unconscious, although cells had the intelligence to get self-organized into bodily organs and systems so that each could sustain as the organism sustains and flourishes. Animals started to develop a nervous system and a brain, whereas a single-cell life in the beginning had no brain. It had a mind, but no brain because it was only one cell. Organisms began to procreate asexually, while individual cells procreated for their organism's growth asexually. Inbuilt natural instincts got stronger and more versatile, and lived experience over multi-million years. The logic of safety or survival in numbers led to the development of herd identity in animals. It took almost 3 billion years, an untold number of genetic mutations and inheritance through millions of generations for light-sensitive cells to develop to become eyes of fish in the oceans. The mind then added a subconscious or semi-automatic faculty to its original unconscious faculty. Further evolution led to the development of mammals who gave live birth to their newborns. They added a conscious ability of the mind to the subconscious and the unconscious that pre-existed them. Humans are mammals as well. They evolved only about 200,000 years ago. Although the human mind has the most evolved form of conscious ability, it is dwarfed in comparison with the unconscious, entrenched over 3.5 billion years and subconscious over 500 million years. The history of the evolution of life on the planet repeats itself in our own lives. We begin existing as a single-celled life at conception, which is sexual reproduction. We grow prenatally by asexual reproduction, which also is responsible for our growth after birth. The origin of our mind was unconscious. It evolves to become subconscious and finally conscious. It takes over 25 years for our conscious mind to mature fully. Our biological roots underlie the state of our human condition, but our inability to better our condition is underlain by our lack of understanding of our biological roots. If we understood them right, we would pay more attention to the unconscious than to the conscious. Paying all the attention to the conscious, we are trying to wag the dog by the tail. I quote Carl Gustav Jung. He says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Thank you. And Jivasu Bhai, maybe you can follow up with your presentation.
Okay. Thank you very much, Shiv Bhai, and welcome to Shen Conference, all of you, and thanks for joining. I would like to affirm what Shiv Bhai said. We have to start with our mind and body. Because that is with us 24 hours. Our body, the only living entity, and also the mind. Now there is two types of mind. One is the mind of the body, that intelligence of the body. And the second type of mind is social mind, which comes through religion, education, family, tradition, culture. That come from outside, but there is a innate mind in this body about which Shiv Bhai was talking. If we really want to solve the problem, I have to start with the facts. And facts are, I have a body, I have body's mind, and I have a social mind too. If I start by inference, by imagination, by an idea given by someone else, how I could solve the problem, so I can say, yes, God is there. Do I know God? Or this is just a borrowed belief? There is a Brahm, people will tell. There is a non-attachment, there is an unconditioned, there is a free will. We borrow these ideas. They are either the result of testimony by others or inference. They are not facts. Fact is, I'm unhappy or happy, I'm suffering, I'm confused, I don't know what to do. So for that imaginary idea may be an escape, a psychotherapy, a relief, but it cannot resolve the problem of my life. Because only unless I diagnose the illness correctly and I find the solution in the facts, not the fiction. So that is where I affirm Shiv Bhai, starting with our biology and the two types of mind. Second thing is, truth remains the same. And truth is not God, truth is not Tao, truth is not Brahm, like a lot of people say. Truth has to be universal. A group of people may believe that I know the truth, but others don't believe. This is not universal truth. Universal truth means all human beings can affirm it. And what is the truth? Universal. Universal truth is all of us want to live to the maximum with peak life, with peak fulfillment. That cuts across all race, culture, and religion, because all of us long for the same, and that is universal truth. And that universal truth remains the same, whether it was 5,000 years ago or this Jivasu. We suffer, we are confused, we are excited, we are happy, we are creative, and so on and so forth. The truth remains the same. Its interpretation has to change according to time and place. So whatever approach was there a few centuries ago, 1,000 years ago, is it not so relevant? Although it was relevant at that time, because we are living in the age of materialism. Younger generation, they are seeped into science. So unless my approach is through this materialism, through the science, younger generation will slowly deny, no matter what I say about the grand philosophy, grand traditions of the past, because they are not interested. Because they are connected with their mind and body, and they want to be explained through the science, because science is the common language which we are speaking all over the world. Whether I live in Canada or Africa or Asia, they won't understand the language which we spoke in the past. So that is why science and biology is so important. So the path to the truth or resolving those problems or higher level of living, it is not in metaphysics, it's not in myth, it is not in mystical. It is in this body, in this biology. It is not ascending to those philosophy, but it is descending into what Jivasu, Shiv has said, into our subconscious or unconscious. Where that subconscious or unconscious is, it is connected to the middle part of our brain called limbic system, and unconscious, the lowest part of the brain, which is called brain stem, and then rest of the body. Because that part, my body, my intimate feeling, the mind of the body remains unintegrated in my daily life. It is repressed. As a child, I was born with all abilities and talents. But what happens as the social mind started dominating, my own unique energy, unique talents took the second position, and slowly I started repressing it. And that repression became my subconscious or unconscious. So the timeline of this process is I am born as a child, and until the age of 2 or 3 or so, everything is very free. Everything is moving with natural rhythms, and unless I'm abused as a child. But around the age of 2 or 3, I or awareness appears. With that, fear appears first time in a child, fear of dying around the age of 2 years because of the self-awareness. Child take the shelter in the society, family. They console the child, they protect the child, but child has to pay the cost. They have to accept a tradition, a particular type of education, a custom, a religion, a way of life, which is not child's own. And that is conditioning of a child is buried in our brain as default mode network. Certain parts of the brain, they carry the voices of the past, whatever happened in the past. And in order to escape from the past, we become very busy outside, because if we sit in solitude, immediately we will fall back to their default mode network, mind wandering. That is why we want to be more and more busy. But busyness is spiritual laziness, because I don't want to look what happened to me. I don't want to face it. Why I don't want to face it? Because already I have so many other problems which life is throwing. How I sort it out. And the repressed, which is subconscious or unconscious, the lower part of the brain, they contain the vital life energy. It is not the higher part of the brain. If you really go study the brain, it is the lower part where we perceive raw and pure way. But normally whatever we perceive, it is contaminated, it is corrupted. So perception starts with the lower part of the brain, but as it is going up, immediately top part of the brain, which is conditioned, goes down, categorizes it, puts a lid on it, makes it half. Even love, how many times we perceive love pure and raw? There is always a condition of love. How my future is going to be with this person, whether my parents will accept this person, whether this person has enough money so we could survive. So before love could fully manifest, it is corrupted by that conditioned response of my past. My whole history, my whole autobiography impinges. So we don't perceive anything pure. So it is not, in order to live higher quality of life, to go into metaphysical, mythical, go high. We have to descend into this depth of darkness. Carl Jung called it shadow. Integrate this most vital part, animal part of us. Because unless I have that extraordinary energy to break all the patterns of my past, I cannot access the new. Millions of people walk a spiritual and religious path. Most of them, they never reach the goal. Why? They don't have that energy. In order to do anything in life, we need energy, passion, aliveness. So what we do, we quickly become dependent on tradition and try to find the solution, not realizing we accumulated more knowledge. And they are beautiful, those traditions, those religions are beautiful. They are not going to work because I don't have enough energy. Energy brimming, a brain which is brimming with energy is truly attentive brain. And dhyana means attention. Dhyana means I cannot pay attention because my mind is distracted. Why my mind is distracted? I don't have enough energy to put away the distractions. So it is descending down into that middle part of the brain. Antonio Damasio says in the middle part of the brain, time moves moment to moment to moment to moment, here and now. Same Antonio Damasio, the neurobiologist, he says in the lower part of the brain, there is no time, eternity, immortality. We don't have access. Of course, we have access, but we don't even realize. That is why I teach Soma. My name is Jivasu. Soma means my body, my biology becomes the portal for healing, complete health, and liberation. That is where we go. Because body doesn't mean only physical frame. Body means Physical frame, liver, brain, etc. Also body's intelligence, which we can perceive as feelings. And a new science, a new branch of neurobiology, interoception, describes in more detail. And the third thing which flows in this body is life energy inside. So body has three elements. It's not only physical frame. So I am really interested in solving the fundamental problems of human life, not about the comfort or a fridge or a car or a beautiful house. Existential problem of love, problem of fear of death, problem of meaning of life, problem of fulfillment, problem of relationship, problem of harmony, problem of freedom. Then I have to release this energy, and it cannot be released unless I integrate the lower. And that is why in Hindu tradition, every single god or goddess has a bird or animal as a carrier. Why they put it? Shiva has a bull, Lakshmi has a owl, and they are all divine. The message is clear. Unless you integrate the lower, you cannot go higher. You may go higher emotionally and intellectually, but transformatively, that is just not possible. Also in Aboriginal tradition, each one of them has their totem, symbol, a bird, animal. And they say this connects us to the spirit world. That is the connecting link. But we don't pay connecting link because we think this body and its biology is negative. It is filth. It has to be discarded. It has to be ignored because body is hindrance. Sex is evil. That is body's desire. And that is the approach of Soma, starting with this body and mind. And I will stop here. Of course, there will be a question, then I will elaborate on each aspect of it in details because we have time.